What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we are going to continue talking about the Chicago Marathon training race vlog entry materials and just kind of breaking down how my 20-mile run went, the expectations of the Chicago Marathon as a result, and just where running is going to go from here. And I'll probably just add some other spiels of things as I normally do on this kind of like open-ended Chicago Marathon training vlog entry. So before we get into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, if you're subscribed to watching content. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Let's go with it. So the run I did, I'll post the map here, and I'll try to like remember it from when I was running last weekend with it, or it wasn't over the weekend. It was actually a Thursday night that I decided to do it. Basically, I went into the city just for a little bit of inspiration, a little bit more course training as a result, because, again, it's two things, right? One, training out here in Algonquin, it's kind of a different sport. It's a different animal, ultimately, and there's a lot more hills and things that don't really simulate the course all too well. Whereas, like, Chicago is, like, maybe a 40, 50-minute drive for me, and if I want to do that drive and I want to commit to training in the city, my old stomping grounds, and just getting it done, I'll do it, you know? So it's not something I'm going to do on a daily basis, of course, but if the option's there, I will take advantage of it for sure. So in this case, I took that Thursday, and right, I'm a little bit beat up from just like training overall, just some kind of issues with sleep and work and things like that. So going into it, I didn't expect the 20-miler to go too well, but as a result, like, long story short, it ended up going quite well, actually. So, yeah, you know, I parked at my usual stomping grounds, kind of like around the DePaul University Lincoln Park campus, where I could find space, you know, just laced up the Vaporfly Next Percent 2s, and I just went for it, right? I actually ended up doing something very similar to what I did last year during my 20-mile run, which was, like, get to the lakefront path, run south, hit the museum of, I think it was the Field Museum, not Science and Industry. Science and Industry is too far, but we hit the Field Museum, and then we kind of looped around through a segment of the Chicago Marathon route from like mile 3 to like 4, 5, and then I think it was up to like 6, and then I get back on the lakefront path, go north all the way up to, I think it was Irving Park Road, where I had my usual 7-mile route, loop back around, end up back on the Chicago Marathon route, going from like mile 9 to maybe 11. And then I went into actually no, I went a little bit further. I might have gone to like mile 12 even, I think. I'll have to double check this, but it, you know, I kind of went back through the Lincoln Park area on like Broadway, and I looped back down to Armitage, and from there I did a segment of the route again, looped back around, got to my car at 19 miles, my watch dies, so that's one thing. I lose my map on Strava because I guess when the watch just dies, I guess this is just like data on the watch that is like volatile and it just vanishes. I don't know if it's like cached or not, so I don't know the details on that, but I lost the route overall. So I had to run the known mile I had around the campus, which is like go west a little bit and come back, and like I knew it was about a mile. So time-wise, I think it showed up that I was running at like 8:15 pace for the day, and I genuinely wanted to keep it slower and easier overall. And you can tell by the heart rate that there weren't too many spikes along the course when I was running, and there were like spikes if I was like dodging traffic, if I was chasing a bike, for example, then yeah, I would have those sprints, but for the most part, I ended up keeping it quite math tone, and that was very surprising. I didn't expect to run 20 miles with like an average heart rate below 150. So I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily, if it's something good to expect moving forward from here, but, you know, math tone isn't necessarily marathon race heart rate for me, and if it is in the future, or should be considered as such, then obviously I'm running a half marathon that's going to be about like 3:15, 3:20 if I really kept to it. But the goal here, as of the filming of this video, or maybe we can talk about this as like marathon race goals, based on how my 20-miler went, sub 3 is still not out of the question, but it's going to take a lot of focus during the run to get it done. That's one thing. falling under 3:30 means I have the worst day on the planet. So I'm not going to replicate what happened last year where it turned into a run walk at mile 18 because everything just fell apart due to like bad nutrition, weather, just mental breakdown during the race, and it turned into a 3:27 marathon. Like, that's not going to happen. I can't let that happen, right? I'm basically 30 years old right now. I can't let myself fall like to the urges of stopping to run or the pain of running. Like, I got to remember what it was like running a marathon at the age of like 25, 26, when it was just full steam ahead, and you remember how much pressure there is on you to get this done, and you're going to get it done. So those are some of the things to think about. So I don't want to run anything below a 3:15 during the marathon. In fact, I want to run a PR. I don't know if sub 3 is in the question or if it's like in the realm of things, but a 3:10 or faster should be like within my grasp. And if I play everything right during the marathon, I'm envisioning I can run like a 3:02, 3:03, assuming all goes well. So that's kind of how it's played out. I don't have like my set official goals for the marathon yet, but I really think I'm still within my 3:15 to 3 hour range. And if I can break 2:59:59, that means everything was executed perfectly on race day. And that is one of the hardest asks to ever do during a marathon, where it almost comes down to the final week of your race. So maybe that's something we can talk about, right? Like what I'm planning on doing a little bit differently here. So the week before last year's Chicago Marathon, I had like the dumbest taper on the planet. Like, I was going hard on some runs. I was like super excited. And that was a lot of the stuff going on. And I remember people messaging me on Strava like, hey, listen, Phil, you need to like slow down. Like, what you're doing is not tapering. What you're doing is going to hurt you during the marathon. And a lot of these people were ultimately correct, but I felt good during a lot of my runs. So basically, I have to take all those workouts and like push it so much further back, and maybe even implement some cross training just to get the general fitness still rolling, but not put in so much work on my feet during a run where like my legs can actually heal up. So I'll give you a great example. Like right now, this is Wednesday, the 28th of September. In a week and a half, the marathon happens, right? I feel a little bit tired in the legs. I'm kind of sore, kind of exhausted. My sleep hasn't been too great for a couple of reasons, but essentially I know now that I'm not going to be running like 10 miles today. I'm probably going to do about 4 to 5 miles of running, and if I really don't feel good at all, I'll just do like 3. So I know that's part of my agenda, and then I know I have a strength training session later tonight as well. So if I do maybe like 4 to 5 miles and I feel good, I may still swim like a half a mile in the water, and I'll go lift some weights. Maybe I'll train legs, train some mobility stuff. We'll see how that plays out. The most important rule here, of course, is just paying attention to my body leading up to the Chicago Marathon, of course. And now there's a couple of other things also that are good that are going on as well, is that I have a lot more office access for my job. So I guess from the job perspective of things, like, yeah, I can return to the Sears Tower to work again. Woo! So I was there yesterday for like an all hands on meeting with my team, and like it was good. They let the dogs out, so the dogs were running wild, of course, around the office, and we were just having fun. I'm saying this figuratively. Like, my team was just like crazy. We were a bunch of fun, doing what we do and just hanging out and just talking smack all day, and obviously going through meetings and whatnot. But the fundamental story here is like, I like my team. I like going to the office occasionally. I do like working from home a lot because it's just convenient. And, there's a lot of benefits to just having that extra time to sleep or extra time to prep for something else rather than commuting for, X amount of hours daily. I digress. Point is, with this type of access, what I may do on the week of the Chicago Marathon, whether on Thursday or Friday, I'll just report to the office. And, maybe during my lunch break, sneak over to the McCormick place, pick up my bib and pack it, maybe do a final, like, breakout run somewhere in the city around that time, and then, just kind of call it a day from there. So that'd be preferably, like, on Thursday to do, like, that run. And then maybe I'll even run to the McCormick Center. It's honestly, like, not even a 2-mile run to and from the McCormick Center from the Willis or Sears Tower, excuse me. And I'll have to see about that. That seems like a really great idea. Basically, a lot of what I'm kind of describing here is like what my life would have been if 2020 was a lot different. So I was working at the Sears Tower, basically starting 2020, and then for 6 weeks before the big lockdowns and stuff. That's when they sent us all home. It was I envisioned that I would be at the office, and then after the office, I would just be running through like downtown city almost every day. And like yesterday, that was one of my runs. I'll post that Strava here somewhere. But basically, that's what I envisioned like my career was going to be partially. Whereas like we would have this good team to work with. You know, I'd be learning on a daily basis, and after work or before work even, I could just leave the Sears Tower and just go straight for a run somewhere along, the city and just enjoy it. And that would be like the vibe. And I got to experience that once yesterday, and it'd be nice to do that a lot more, but I know the world's not the same. The corporate climate of various companies will never return to what it was in 2019, and it is what it is, you know what I mean? So you just have to adapt and just kind of do whatever. And then like nobody's going to stop me from going to the office every single day, and maybe there'll be a week where I do it just for giggles. And yeah, we'll see how that plays out, of course. So yeah, the story with that, of course, is that part of my marathon distractions also involve things involving work, such as getting some work certifications, not necessarily tied to work, but like tied to other educational entities that exist. So like in the cybersecurity field, for example, like we have CompTIA, we have SANS, we do have Cisco and other products if you want to go through like a network security kind of standpoint and get like a CCNA, for example. In this case, I'm working at like my CYSA Plus, which is the Cybersecurity Analyst Plus. So studying for that exam is very similar to training for like a marathon, right? You have to put in time every single day. Some days you can have rest days, and for the most part, you got to have like that long run or that long test session one of those days of the week. So I've been just working on getting in the rhythm of studying, once like during my work day, which we are allowed because that's part of, our training regimen is allowed training during the day. And then I train also at night if there's some downtime and it's like I can't sleep and it's like midnight, and that's what I want to kind of do. So that's been a big focus also on my mind from like doing other things like traveling for racing. Like I don't want to do anything until like the Chicago Marathon's complete, like 2, I get this certification from CompTIA, and like 3, I have some like ransomware presentation I'm trying to put together for work as well. So I also want to get that done, and that's going to be really exciting, and we'll see how that goes. So by the way, I mean, I've mentioned this before, but if you guys are interested, if you're like people who are cybersecurity prospects of anything of that sort, and you want to kind of understand how the industry works in a way, or you're like looking for some sort of idea of what I do better for a living, I could try to like make a whole YouTube channel dedicated to cybersecurity and like things of that sort. Just sound off in the comments if you're interested in that. But for the most part, that'll be a little bit more work than I need at the moment. Maybe after things kind of cool down at the office with this certifications and my work goals get sorted out and the marathon season kind of like dwindles before Tokyo picks up, then yeah, that'll be kind of sick. So that kind of transitions into my next and probably my final point for this video. This is just turning into just like a general entry, to be completely honest. I think that's what this is. Let's talk about Tokyo. So obviously, Tokyo has been the main reason this channel even exists, and it was going to be the race that I was going to do in 2020. Then it got postponed for like 2-3 years now, and yep, 2023 is going to be the year that I run it. So, not immediately after the Chicago Marathon, but maybe like 1 to 2 weeks after the Chicago Marathon, maybe even 3. I'll begin training for the race, and I have a kind of a general plan that I would like to do depending on whether I have a good budget or not. So, the initial plan for me would be that at some point in January, obviously I'm going to run the Hot Chocolate Houston run because it was so much fun last year. I have some friends out there that would love to race with me again, so it's on. I'll definitely sign up for it soon, and I'm going to get it done so I can go to Houston, have some fun with that. Maybe sometime late January, early February. I'll do all of my hard work in tropical climates, whether it be Florida, whether it be like South Carolina. But the move would be that during the winter season, I'll relocate for about a month to one of these regions and do some training. I just don't know where yet and how it's going to work out, who's going to go with me, but the plan is going to be not necessarily expensive. I just know that it's going to be financially kind of tricky in that sense. But it's not that I can't save money or anything like that. It just, I'm aware that Tokyo travel, excluding the cost of flights, because, you know, long story short, that's kind of something I get for free doing what I do as my work. It's a privilege, it's an honor. Excluding the cost of flying for $1,500 or $2,400 round trip, just the cost of living, food, and other things in Tokyo might be like kind of up, I'll imagine, like $1,000 to $2,000. Other expenses, including like Florida for a month, or you know, some southeast region for a month, could be like, again, $3,000 to $4,000. It's like money that I can definitely save and definitely use for this training program to make Tokyo a really good experience. The reason I would be doing that, though, of course, is because training in the winter is it's a hard ask to have those conditions reflect during Tokyo at this time. You know what I mean? It's like, here it'd be like icy cold, it'd be snow, and it'd be just like really dull weather. Whereas in Tokyo, the weather's a little bit more, I'm not going to say tropical, but the snowfall isn't nearly as crazy in Tokyo at the exact same time. So it's like a climate shift. So I almost have to train in conditions that are worse than Tokyo from a heat standpoint to make it matter when you go to a slightly cooler environment of Tokyo, rather than training in extreme cold where like you can, you know, train entirely different layering and all that in clothing, and then bring it back to somewhere where you have less layers and it's different, you know what I mean? So that's going to be something I'll reflect on more in another video. But yeah, point of the story is we have a week and a half left until the Chicago Marathon, and I have some optimism, but I definitely got to start toning it down to just taper, to relax, to get over any sort of soreness I may be experiencing at this time. So I'll leave the video here. That was a lot of talking, but a lot of cool stuff that I just kind of wanted to get off my chest. There's a lot more stuff going on. Maybe I'll save it for another entry as we get closer to the Chicago Marathon, but that's it for now. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.